All right, ladies and gents, if you clicked on this video, then you are either a pretty big Will Trent fan or you're, like myself, a massive Jack Reacher fan. I just finished cleaning the gold, and I've got to say, it was a great experience because, like a lot of Jack Reacher fans, I've been yearning for this older version of Reacher. I haven't been as thrilled by the latest novels that are a joint venture, a co-authorship with his brother Andrew Child, but a return to form for Lee Child. And this is in 2019, so it's not a true return to form. This was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. But this is something that I've been wanting to read for a long time, and just finally got around to listening to the audiobook, actually. And it's a true crossover, and that's what I love the most about it. See, there are plenty of books that will mention characters from other series, especially in the thriller world, right? Or mystery world. You'll get mentions of other things. There's a Stephen King book called Under the Dome that mentions the character Jack Reacher. Never actually has him be part of the story in any way, but it's just a nice little nod to the author to say, hey, I love your work, just a little tip of the hat. And I love stuff like that. And you see it a lot in these books, especially these big mainstream, like pop culture-esque characters, the characters that are really big to us who love them. And it's always great to see. But having a true crossover like this does not happen often. So this was a wonderful, wonderful experience to be able to have this character that I really know nothing about. I'm not a Will Trent reader. I don't know anything about the character other than, the basic premise that he's a GBI agent, Georgia Bureau of Investigations agent. That's really all I know about the story. So I assume it's based mostly in Georgia. It doesn't appeal to me as much as the character of Jack Reacher, which I've been a fan of for many, many years. And I've been reading the Jack Reacher novels for many years, several times through. If you're a Jack Reacher fan, like me, you're in good company. If you go back on this channel, you can see I've reviewed a ton of the books. I've reviewed the series episode by episode. I talk a lot about Jack Reacher on this channel. So if you're interested in that at all, stick around. There's going to be a lot more. For Will Trent fans, let me know about Will Trent. Like, is this a series I should be reading? Is this something I should pick up, that I should be checking out? Because I don't know. It seems a little too localized for me to get into, but maybe not. Maybe it's awesome. Let me know. Tell me if I should be reading the Will Trent series. I did enjoy him very much in Cleaning the Gold. So this was a joint venture between not Lee Child and Andrew Child this time, but Lee Child and Karin, the author of the Will Trent book series. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun. There wasn't a ton of action in it, maybe one action scene in this story. And I like a lot of action in my Jack Reacher novels. In fact, I feel like the books that have less action kind of have something missing. But this was good because it was only a short story. It was about a 2-hour audiobook, so that's nothing. Reacher audiobooks can go anywhere from like 10 to 16 hours on the norm. So a 2-hour short story, this was fantastic. I loved the way they went chapter for chapter, going back and forth, and I'm assuming that those were the different authors taking over because you got the narration, or somewhat narration, kind of like the third-person narration for the character that was kind of taking the lead in that chapter. Like, you're getting his perspective. So it starts off with Will Trent, and then the next chapter you go to Jack Reacher's perspective. And I love that, just going back and forth to get their personalities kind of coming into the story, and then also just their individual way of thinking and working out problems and stuff like that, and just to see where they're at in the story. So the story was pretty awesome. It was a pretty good premise for a short story. It could have been a whole novel if they wanted to do it, and I would love to see a true crossover novel. I don't know if that's ever been done. You tell me. I don't know, but I would love to see it with any characters with Jack Reacher, really. You want to cross over any of the Brad Thor's characters, or I don't know, name a person, right? I would love to see Jack Reacher crossover with some other thriller characters for realsies, right? Like in a full-on novel. But this, listen, beggars can't be choosers. This was fantastic. So the story is, Will Trent is sent in basically to track down and capture Jack Reacher or test his DNA to see. And I love this. I love the callback. Every Reacher fan has to love a callback to the original, the first novel, Killing Floor. And that's exactly what this was. It's a 22-year cold case. They're trying to figure out who murdered a guy in Margrave, Georgia. And they suspect that it could be Jack Reacher, but they don't know. And I love this. I love this. They need to test the DNA, so that's why Will Trent is there. He knows that Reacher, for some reason, somehow has ended up at this military base, at Fort Knox, cleaning the gold. So he has to find a way in to also get assigned to cleaning the gold at Fort Knox, which sounds ridiculous, but if you listen to the story, it makes, or if you read the story, it makes a lot of sense. It actually works really well. But they're in charge of counting and cleaning the gold that they do. Like every 10 years, they assign people to do this, and that's what goes down in the story. They're a member of this team that is cleaning and organizing the gold, basically. Like I said, it sounds silly from the outside, but if you read the story, it works really well. It's a lot of fun. Like it makes it, I feel like that premise, that idea, makes it a much more interesting story. It's like, it ups the stakes, right? Because you're dealing with like all this gold and all this potential for like big money. So it kind of ups the stakes of this very short story, which usually short stories don't have a whole lot of stakes, right? You can't like cram that much in there. You can't put as much drama into a 2-hour story as you can into a drawn out novel. I loved it. And Jack Reacher is there on a completely different mission. He's there to figure out something that's going on behind the scenes with the army. Like he's there specifically, he got pulled in by Nagley and some other government agency. So he's there on behalf of some government agency. Will Trent is there on behalf of a different government agency. One's investigating the other, and the other's investigating the military. So it's kind of cool how it works out. They end up teaming up. I'm not going to ruin it for anyone who hasn't read it. And I love the kind of ominous ending that will probably never be resolved, and that's the whole point of it. I really like the way that it's like this open-ended thing. Like they definitely resolved this storyline, but then they end it with a question. They end it with a question where both characters are kind of asking the same question, and there's really not an answer to. So anyway, if you've read this, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I said, it was like a return to form for Lee Child, who I felt like wasn't writing in quite the same way in the past few years that he was solo authoring the book. And then with the co-authorship, I feel like it's gone downhill a little bit more. Yeah, I feel like it is picking up speed again. I do feel like there's potential for it to get better. I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens when Andrew Child takes over the book proper. We'll see what happens. A lot of people think he's the problem. I kind of think the joint co-authorship might actually be the problem at this point. So anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're just here to talk about cleaning the gold. Let me know what you thought of cleaning the gold. Let me know in the comments below. Also, Will Trent fans, let me know if I should be reading Will Trent, because I'll definitely give it a shot. If enough people recommend it, I'll definitely check it out, and I'll put my review up right here on the channel. If you're interested in this type of stuff, not only do I cover Jack Reacher, a whole lot of Jack Reacher, but I'm talking about stuff like every day on this channel. Everything. Entertainment, pop culture, stories from my questionable youth, all kinds of crazy stuff. So if you're interested in that at all, if you're a fan of entertainment and pop culture, then please subscribe to the channel or favorite or follow the Daily BS podcast. And yeah, if you do stick around, if you decide to either subscribe or favorite or follow the podcast, and I'll talk to you again likely tomorrow. Thanks.